Have you ever saved someone's life? If so, then how? I was on my way home from work. When I worked as a security guard I was still in uniform, so I had an unearned and unneeded sense of responsibility about me. I noticed ahead of me a big semi-truck carrying a big load. The truck had inadvertently run over an air mattress on the road and the driver hadn't noticed that it caused the main chassis to catch fire. That fire was starting to grow, so I zoomed ahead of him and started to slow down and wave my hands. By that point the truck had been more or less engulfed in flames, but he managed to stop. I jumped out of my car and pulled the dude out just before the trailer caught fire. He was pretty out of it, so I had to drag him to safety, because at the time I wasn't sure what he was carrying. It looked like gasoline, but luckily it was sap. I'll attach a photo link cause I thought it was pretty cool. 5-alarm fire. Hemorrhage to man choking. A year later hemorrhage to a man choking. I'm a nurse. Man came in for a broken ankle. Dr. #1 said cast and home. I said no, he fainted then broke his ankle, so something else going on. Dr. #1 refused to review him. I asked Dr. #2 to review him. He said no, listen to Dr. #1. I asked Dr. #3 to review him. 30 minutes later he was choppered to a bigger hospital in surgery for 9 hours, 30 units of blood, 14 days in ICU and another 14 days in surgical ward. Best bit of the story is that I was made to apologize to Dr. #1 and Dr. #2 for questioning their judgment, even though my manager agreed that the man would have died if I hadn't got Dr. #3 inches. So that's when I decided to leave the NHS. I've talked down several people from suicide, taught a friend how to throw up pills she just swallowed, and got her to tell her mom. Also saved my mom from drowning after she got a cramp in the deep end. Luckily I'm a lifeguard. Called 911. When my aunt's house caught on fire there were 3 people and a cat inside. None of them realized there was a fire. My mom ran across the street to bang on their door and get them out. The fire started in the garage, and the fire marshal said if I hadn't seen the fire, it would have broken through the fire retardant door into the kitchen where everyone was. I want to be a doctor, so hopefully there's more life-saving in the future. Wow. A lot of life-saving experiences. I wish you good luck on your journey to becoming a doctor. Me and one of my best friends met through a mutual friend. We don't talk to the mutual friend anymore because her brother bashed a GameStop employee's head in and is now brain dead. He is in jail. But not the point of the story. We went to different schools and she hated her school. All of her teachers gave her bad grades just because they didn't like her. I suggested that she come to my school as a joke and she actually did. I didn't know this at the time, but she told me that the night I suggested that she come to my school, she planned on hanging herself. I was so shocked that I started crying. She hugged me and said, "You saved me, Grace." I will never forget this moment. I was swimming in the neighborhood pool with my older kid when I saw a kid with arm floaters face down under the water, flailing his arms and legs. I scooped him up and just stood there, not sure what to do. My brain froze. His dad ran over, saw her. It was in like 2-foot deep water, so an awkward run in the water thing, and thanked me a few times, taking his son and saying, "You know not to run off like that. You can't swim yet." I didn't care if the kid was in real trouble or not, as his dad came over pretty quickly, but if I see a kid face down in the water, I'm not going to assume he knows how to swim. A woman that wasn't a regular at the horse barn I frequent was looking after a friend's horses, and she suddenly had a seizure, fell down, and smashed her face on concrete. I didn't see it, but some other girls did, and they panicked. I had a brief "someone should call 911" thought, and then realized I'm someone. Got her head padded, called 911, got all horses put away safely before the ambulance rolled up with lights and sirens. Turned out she had a brain tumor and got emergency surgery to release pressure that caused multiple seizures that day. Finally somewhere to tell about this. I was going on a road trip with my parents when I saw about 20 people gathered on the road. I went there only to find out that it was an accident between 2 bikes, 3 people in total, 2 of them bleeding profusely. The other one was alright, as he had a helmet on. I was kinda surprised to know that no one has either called the ambulance or the police on this. I called them both. 2 days later it was on the newspaper. One of them lived, and the other died a few hours later from his injuries. Not sure if this counts as saving a life. I've still never met this girl, but anyway, I was friends with someone who was going through a tough time at one point. She messaged me and sounded really hopeless, talking about how the stress just kept piling up and things kept going wrong and she couldn't take it anymore. I was maybe in 8th grade and had never really dealt with a situation like that before, but I think I spent hours talking with her and trying my best to make her feel better. I messaged her the next morning and was so relieved when she messaged back saying that she felt better and thanking me. Not 100% sure if saved his life, but a middle-aged guy in an Argentina football jersey went into a swimming pool when I was chilling out by the side. The only people there were me, my partner and this guy. He somehow got to the middle of the pool, where the water is about 1.9 meters 6 feet deep. It was when I noticed that his head was underwater all the time. I jumped in and pulled him to the shallow end. Yep, he was drowning. Later he told me that he may have died if I didn't notice him. Never saw the guy afterwards. During some of the worst years of my life, I started to surround myself with people who were similarly depressed. However, seeing them like that, I decided to be the one for them that I needed most as well, someone who genuinely cares. And so, I kept listening to their stories, kept giving advice, and kept distracting them when they were about to vertical bark amid something irreversible, to put it euphemistically. Sometimes, you learn that just being there for someone is already enough. I don't know if it was life-saving, but saved myself and a car full of people from serious injury at the least. Back in HS I was driving to a movie with my girlfriend, best friend, and his date. We were coming through an intersection behind a big truck and someone on the opposite side was turning left and didn't see us behind it. Instead of slamming on my brakes I floored it as I figured any momentum slowing would actually be detrimental. We slid through unharmed. Would have been real bad. Swimming in a lake, no lifeguard at a park. Noticed a kid 7 or 8 that was trying to play with another family and their water toys. They said no. He tried following them to the deeper water, but couldn't swim that well. As soon as I saw his head bob under the water I started swimming over. He bobbed under again before finally getting enough air to say help, but I was already next to him. Grabbed him and got him to land. His 39-year-old sister was the only one watching him. They left right after. Was playing tag with my neighbors and brothers. My second youngest saw another one of my neighbors play on a water slide and froze because he had a crush on her. He didn't realize that he froze in the middle of the road. A big black truck came speeding down the road. We yelled to get my brother's attention. He didn't hear us. I rushed and tackled him out the way barely in time. He got up mad and embarrassed, ran inside and told our mom I attacked him for no reason. I got in trouble. A little girl, about 3 years old, had wandered away from her parents at a campsite. I was swimming in the river there, but as it was raining I was the only one in the river. This girl fell in after climbing up a tree trunk that overhung the river. I swam over and helped her out and to her parents, thinking it was no big deal. Her parents told me that she couldn't swim and I'd probably saved her life. They were all supposed to be sleeping so hadn't even noticed she was gone. At Bolton Abbey in the UK, I'm with a friend's family. I swim great, can't remember not being able to swim, so I'm chilling in the river near a rope swing when they decide to let their young son have a go. He's not supposed to let go. Spoiler. He lets go over the deepest part of the river. He can't swim. I rescue him. Thankfully I was already in the water cause he was going under so fast it was scary. I was only about 10 years old. A friend didn't look both ways before crossing a street and almost stepped in front of a bus. Never yanked someone by the collar so hard. Could you tell us more about that forceful collar yank? Any other hard collar yanking anecdotes? This happened to me once when I was in middle school. I was mad at first because someone yanked me by pulling my backpack, and then I realized what just happened after a truck passed me going 100 miles per hour. Not sure if this counts, but I volunteer as a sort of intern on ambulances once a month and performed advanced life support ALS on an overdose patient once. If I hadn't been there it simply would have taken longer to get to the hospital, but the patient would probably have been alright. Even still though, kinda thought it was cool. although due to the position of the CPR pads she had to be shirtless, and trying to watch for chest rise under those conditions was kinda awkward. Statistically, I've prevented incorrect medical diagnoses and corrected potential medical errors that have in turn kept people alive when otherwise they wouldn't have been. But it's all behind layers and layers of computer code, medical records, and corporate veils, so I guess I'll never know for certain. Also, once I grabbed an elderly woman on a train, so she fell into the moving train instead of out of a moving train, which might have been bad. My friend was suicidal a few months ago, and I spent my whole morning talking to him and making sure he knows I care for him as a friend and that he can get over from all his family issues, even if we live thousands of miles away. I was there to listen to him. Has something valuable to me because I was also suicidal last year and he actually saved my life. I wouldn't have been alive without him. Now he's still alive and happy. My dog actually saved me from drowning. Lake plus copious amounts of alcohol. Anyways, everyone went to sleep, and I was bored so decided to take a dip. Bad idea. I cramped up about 100 meters from shore. I guess he'd been watching me the entire time. He swam out, I grabbed his tail, and he towed me back in. He's a 90-pound pit bull, and has been very much spoiled from that day on. When I was younger, a neighbor was playing around their garbage cart. It fell over on him. It was too heavy for me to lift by myself, but I was able to lift it enough for him to breathe. I screamed for help and someone finally came. Another time my brother slipped into the deep end of the pool at a large party. No one seemed to notice but me. I get a bit emotional thinking about what could have happened had I not seen him. Does dog count? If yes, there was this dog that went through my backyard multiple times and was just running around. It was raining, so I grabbed it by his collar and brought him in my garage to dry him off. I looked at the tag to see if it had a number to call, and it did. I called both the number and one picked up. The owner came unaware that his dog was missing. He was so grateful. I gave someone the Heimlich. I think they would have died if I didn't. I have given 2 people the Heimlich. One time it was a room with several co-workers, including a nurse and 2 trained first responders. She was obviously choking and no one did anything, so I grabbed her and gave her the Heimlich, and she peed all over both of us. But I got the food dislodged, and she was okay, thank goodness.